What's good, everybody? Y'all already know the vibes. In today's video, I am going to be giving my opinion on the Dallas Empire. Continuing the series, so far we've done LA Thieves, we've done Chicago Optic. Next up is Dallas Empire. One thing I'm going to say before we get into the video, man, I got my hood up because my hair is crazy, okay? Whenever it kind of grows, it gets curly, and if I don't do it right, I look a mess. So don't say nothing about it, please. But let's get right into the video. As always, guys, I'm going to start the video off by giving my opinion on the players individually and then talking about them as a team and just kind of giving you my thoughts and the outlook that I have for them for the rest of the year. I think it's only right that we start out with Crimsix, the GOAT Call of Duty player. I don't care what anyone says. Crim is hands down the greatest of all time. Not even close. Not even close. He has 3 rings. He has the most chips by a large amount. I think one of the main reasons that he's been able to keep up this level of success is because he understands every year, you know, there's new young guns. There's more competition getting into the league. And he knows it might not, you know, he's not the new kid. He's not the young gun, the kid who's just cracked and, you know, is just doing whatever, these crazy highlight plays. Not saying that Crim can't do it, but he just kind of found out how to constantly reinvent his game, right? To always kind of stay one step ahead, you know, really playing to his strengths. I mean, Crim's been around for a very long time, since before I even made the transition to Call of Duty way back when. And, you know, he's hard on you. You know, I would consider Crim like a Michael Jordan type of player. And what I mean by that is he demands perfection, right? From all of his teammates. He wants to push them to be the best that they can possibly be. And, you know, it could rub people the wrong way. It can. It's very similar to what I said on Slasher when I was giving you my opinion on LA Thieves. But he wants what's best for the team. He just wants things to be as perfect as possible. That's all at the end of the day. And you have to give him props for that. I mean, he's not like the superstar on this Dallas Empire team by any means, but he's accepted that role. You know, he's the leader to these young guns. He's passing the torch, essentially, right? He's teaching them the ropes. And I think you saw that a lot in last year's game, Modern Warfare, where he doesn't need to be the Crim that he once was. He just needs to keep reinventing himself, but also helping teach the newer generation of players, right? That have unbelievable mechanical talent. And that's what he's done. I mean, last year was great for Dallas Empire. You know, a lot of people were skeptical going into it. It was 5v5 obviously, but having Clay, Crim, and then Huke, Shotzzy, and Illey. Not many people knew about Shotzzy and Illey. Obviously, Huke has been a household name for a while now, but him and Clay, I'm not just going to say it was all Crim. They helped mold these younger players into stars, right? Really learn the game. Not like Crim was probably on their ass. Like, listen, bro, we're not just out here trying to go for kills, trying to go for world stars. Okay. I'm going to teach y'all actually how to play to win. You know, at the end of the day, the most important thing, man, if you're not winning chips, it doesn't really matter how good you're doing. It really doesn't. You know, you're not going to remember someone if they're putting up empty stats, but it's not counting anything. You know, I mean, hey, from personal experience, Seattle Surge was ass last year. Sam was putting up MVP numbers. Hating my ass. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, you know, I think Crim has, you know, he's got the drive unmatched by human beings. Clearly, that's why he's called a robot. So I can't say enough good things about Crim. I hated playing against him. I hated playing against him as a player. Always thought he was annoying, but at the end of the day, game respect game. And, you know, I got to tip my hat to him. Moving on to the next player, guys, my boy Kyler, aka Huke. Little fun fact, I actually teamed with Kyler when he first got into Call of Duty in Advanced Warfare. You know, it was this young kid. This was way before there was the age restriction or anything. And still to this day, you know, just playing with him, like back then, you know, he was like a little kid, 15, maybe 16. I don't even know. I couldn't grasp how gifted he was when it came to first-person shooters. Like, he was just so damn talented. I don't want to sound like I'm gassing him up too much, but especially because since then, there have been players that have come into the league, right? Where you guys are just watching them and you're like, how are they doing this so consistently? But for me, Kyler was like one of the first Call of Duty players when I started competing where I just couldn't understand how he was this gifted, how he was this talented. You know, he took over multiple times, like just did whatever he wanted to, and it didn't matter because he was just going to outplay you, outskill you, whatever you want to call it. You know, he's a fantastic teammate. He's soft-spoken. You know, he's not a guy that is really going to bring up a lot of issues per se, and like especially not in a bad manner. You know, he is a great teammate. He's a great person to vibe with, which once again, when you have players on a team that could kind of be the opposite of that, it is very important to have someone like Kyler, which I think that helps the Dallas Empire team out a lot. You know, so he's a great teammate. He puts his head down, he grinds, and he performs. Like, you can't ask for anything better. And I was going to say, you know, one of his biggest weaknesses might have been his communication, or his understanding of the game, you know, because for a while, like when I teamed with him and even all the way up until like last year when he joined Dallas Empire, you know, some people thought he was kill hungry, you know, maybe wasn't playing the best way to win. But I think him being able to team with Crim and Clay opened his eyes. I think Modern Warfare was the exact year that Kyler needed. Not because they won champs, not because they won, you know, events. It's because he was a part of a team, right, where he wasn't the clear-cut superstar. Okay, every other team prior to that, Huke was like the #1 guy. You know, having these players that everyone was hyping up in Shotzzy and Illey, you know, like Kyler kind of took a back seat. But the reason why it helped him so much is because I think not only learning from Crim and Clay, you know, on just like the right way, like to play Call of Duty at the highest level, not only individually, but as a team, is he accepted that role. And he became such a well-rounded player because of that. You know, for the longest time, it was like Kyler's going to be the guy who goes out and gets you 30, you know, like, and he's just going to provide that firepower that you need. MW, Kyler did a little bit of everything. Like, it's not like his skill went away. He could still be that guy, but he understood that there's more aspects to the game. I mean, Kyler's one of my favorite teammates of all time. One of my favorite people that I met in Call of Duty. Very down to earth, genuine guy. And I'm glad that he's finally been able to find some real success on Dallas Empire. Next, moving on to Illey, man. Illey is one of the few players that really came out of nowhere for MW. Maybe I shouldn't say out of nowhere. You know, he was a S&D kid. He finally turned 18. He was able to play professionally. He was able to be in the league because of the age restriction. And a lot of people kind of knew that he was very raw, you know, very talented. Like Illey was big in the S&D scene. Okay, one of the best. But a lot of people were skeptical on how he would transfer over to, you know, Respawn, just competitive variant. Because there's been S&D players in the past, really good S&D players in the past that have done that, but they haven't really performed. They didn't really transfer. It didn't transfer over as well. And I'll tell you what, for the longest time, I thought Illey was just some young kid with a lot of gunny, you know, ran around doing whatever he wanted to. But after watching an MW, he's a very, very intelligent player. He is. He's very selfless, you know, which is also something that's interesting because a lot of the people from the S&D scene, especially if they have a little hype around them and they get that opportunity, they kind of want to think like they're the superstar. You know what I'm saying? For Illey, he was like ready just to work, listen to Crim and Clay, and like understand the game, just learn the game from them. You know, drop the ego at the door, push your head down, go to work. And there was a ton of plays that I saw throughout last year where I was surprised that Illey, being so new into competitive Call of Duty, I was surprised that he was making those plays that like veteran players don't even make, but plays that change the game. Illey's obviously very versatile, man. He's great in S&D. very impactful player. He's a great respawn player. Seems like a great teammate. I've only played, you know, like 10s with him and like pickups, but he's hilarious, dude. You know, doesn't seem like he's toxic at all, which is fantastic, because that could also happen. You know, everyone has an ego, okay, but it's about how you kind of control it, especially in the competitive scene, right? Because it's a slippery slope. You know, you could be the best one day and the next day you're not even in the league. But so I think he has a good head on his shoulders, man. He seems hungry. You know, he's one of the most dedicated players. He's probably put in most damn hours in MW. And I'm sure that that's transferring over to Cold War. But I really can't say anything bad about Illey. The only negative is he seems at times a little inconsistent. Well, I'll hold that take for Cold War, because in MW he seemed a little inconsistent at times, you know, a little hot or cold, which happens, you know. But I have heard and I have seen from when they played, Illey looks really damn good. So maybe that might be a little bit of a rushed hot take. I think we're gonna have to wait to see an event or two, not for Illey, but just for everyone, you know, opinions on everyone, how they are in this game, to really get a good understanding. But that is the one thing that I would say that I would think about. No, not think about, but I would worry about, if he could kind of be more prone to, you know, getting in those slumps, right? But all around, seems like a really good player, really good teammate. You know, hungry, he's just ready to win. He's ready to work at the end of the day. Moving on to the last player, none other than one of the greatest FPS players of all time. That's the boy Shotzzy, man. Shotzzy's an unbelievable talent. I've known about Shotzzy for a while now, before he even thought about making the switch from Call of Duty, because he was a Halo 5 professional. I have boys that I still root for to this day that were competing in Halo 5, and, you know, they would tell me like, dude, this Shotzzy kid is like, he was like, it was Shotzzy, an empty tier, and then other pros at certain points of Halo 5. He was just like next level. And I always try to ask them, like, what do you mean? The guys that I was talking to weren't scrubs. It was Royal 2, Snakebite, Frosty, like the best Halo 5 players are saying this about Shotzzy. And I was like, yeah, like what? How does that make sense? And dude, they were just like, man, it's like a combination of things. He's just unbelievably talented. He's gifted. You know, like his movement is one of a kind. No one can replicate it. And so when I found out that he was making a switch, he's someone that I was definitely interested in teaming with. There was a possibility that I was going to be on Dallas Empire with, I believe, Huke, Shotzzy, and Octane, Slack maybe, or I don't know exactly. That's besides the point. Who cares? But yeah, man, I mean, it completely transferred his skill. I know a lot of people were hating on him in the beginning of the game, before the pandemic, before COVID, you know, because he was raw still. People don't understand. Your mindset from professional Halo to COD is a complete 180. Okay, it's something that is going to take a little bit of time, and a lot of people are saying he got better because once the pandemic hit, it was moved to online. That's not the case. He just needed a little bit. He needed to learn the game from professional COD players. He had the skill, you know what I'm saying? And now that he kind of packaged those two things together, it just boosted him through the roof. And you saw that in MW, and I think you're still seeing it in Cold War. I mean, he's a generational talent, man. He is. Seems like a great teammate. You know, their whole team really is kind of laid back, besides Crim, which is okay. You know, you need an old man, an old head to kind of keep these boys in shape type of mentality. Only thing that I'm worried about, or I guess I wouldn't even say worried about, but one of his weaknesses is his communication. When I watch it, it doesn't seem too good. I don't want to say it's bad, but you definitely can't compare it to, you know, the better communicators in Call of Duty, right? But I mean, that's not the worst thing, especially if you have a team that has a bunch of good communicators. Not the worst thing. He just seems kind of quiet, kind of locked in, you know, doing his thing. But if he's the superstar on the team, and that's how he kind of needs to lock in, you kind of give him a little bit of a pass as long as he's performing, as long as he's executing. But yeah, I mean, that's it, dude. This Dallas Empire team is pretty damn stacked. I mean, and rightfully so. They won Call of Duty champs last year. They are the reigning champs. You know, they're trying to go for the back-to-back, and I think that they very well could. You know, they've looked really good in practice. In the CDL kickoff, they 3-0'd New York. Unfortunately, New York didn't really have much practice because if you guys didn't know, Zuma took a step down. I don't know if he's officially retired or he's just trying to figure out, you know, what the possibilities are with his problem that he has with his hand. So that's kind of tough. But, I mean, they looked still unbelievable. You know, they got to be one of the contenders moving forward, starting the season at least. And I don't really know if there's anything bad I can say about them as a team. I don't think there's any certain weakness. They seem really good at S&D, at Respawn. You know, they're all good teammates. The only thing, and this is a completely out of left field take, is since they won COD champs, right, together last year, and Illey Shotzzy and even Huke, even though he's been around for a little bit longer, you know, they're getting their praise, man. Like, well, it's well deserved. I don't know if, say, Crim doesn't perform as well this year, right, but he still has the same mentality. And I'm not saying it would be like this, but it's just something I'm thinking about, is if the other three players kind of start to lose faith in him, right? Because they're like, yeah, like, you helped us out, but you're not really performing well, and now you're trying to you're still trying to tell us how to play. And I feel like that potentially could cause some problems. But like I said, that's a out of left field take. I don't necessarily think that would happen, knowing the players on Dallas Empire, like knowing most of them personally. But it's always something to think about. I do think that they're going to be a contender all year long. I do. From top to bottom, dude, they get it done. They look fantastic on paper. They look fantastic so far. Obviously, that take could change depending on the day, depending on the event. You know, that's the biggest thing too with these videos, guys, and it's why we'll make follow-up videos for a lot of these teams. Because you got to get some more reps under your belt. You know what I'm saying? Like, you need more reps. You need to see some actual tournaments to really get an understanding. I keep preaching that, and it'll change. You know, like, the meta changes. There's going to be teams that start out hot, and then mid-season they kind of cool off. You know, it's like any other season in sports. You want to get hot at the right time if you want to win the chip. You know, there's teams that start out 3-4-0 in the NFL. Then they end 7-9. It happens, like it does. So these opinions, these rankings are going to change depending on what is happening in real time. But I appreciate all the love. As always, man, you guys have been so dope. Thank you so much. Until I see y'all, when I see y'all, the kid is out. Have a good one.